For something free? Well, we're talking free-to-play games today, new ones and upcoming ones. We've got 20, so let's get started off with number 20. Soulframe is the newest game from Digital Extremes, the people behind Warframe. Warframe, if you don't know, has been going for like a decade now. It's a free-to-play live service game that a lot of people have been really enjoying. There's a massive community around it, and it seems like they're one of the few that haven't screwed up the live service model and alienated players. Warframe is going strong, so some of that team spun off and they're working on a new game called Soulframe. Soulframe in a lot of ways looks like the opposite of Warframe. It's more grounded, more melee based, and fantasy instead of sci-fi. It's still got very similar vibes to Warframe, but it's definitely trying to do its own thing in this interesting fantasy setting centered around nature, creatures, animals. It's sort of medieval, but it's kind of hard to pin down. Combat looks very almost God of War 2018-like, and I think they could be onto something interesting here. If they've learned a lot from Warframe, I'm just excited to see what they do with a new game from the ground up. As of right now, Soulframe doesn't have a release date, but we're definitely keeping an eye on it. Next, over at number 19, we have The Bornless. This is billed as an action horror first-person shooter. You're playing with other players in this very moody, atmospheric horror world, apparently facing off against demons, monsters, other factions in this quote-unquote Lovecraftian world. You're using magic, you're using guns, you're upgrading a safe house, and just visually, the game seems really, really distinct. I think that alone is very ambitious, especially for this studio, a small studio that I think this is their first project. Games are essentially centered around you starting out in your safe house, going out, looting, getting more powerful stuff, kind of summoning a demon through a ritual, and then depending on what team you're on, you're dealing with a demon, and then you're hunting down other players while they're trying to escape or extract. It's a lot of interesting concepts, and we're excited to hear more from it soon. The trailers look pretty cool, but again, it's from a new, unproven studio. As of right now, no release date, but we're going to keep an eye on it. Now, next at number 18, we have Dungeon Stalkers. This is essentially a free-to-play, third-person action dungeon crawler. It's going to have PvP elements, and you're just diving into these dark, gloomy, very classic-style dungeons, fighting other players and monsters. The character designs look cool. It looks like there's lots of different abilities, magical witches, gallant knights. Apparently it's got a pretty complex armor system that you really have to factor into how you square off against enemies. As of right now, this is slated for 2024, and we're excited to hear more. Next, over at number 17, we have Arena Breakout Infinite. This is another highly tactical first-person extraction shooter. You're looting, you're shooting, you're getting out. Sometimes you're taking it slow, sometimes it gets very intense and very sweaty very quickly. And I think one of the big things this game has going for it is the visuals. If you can't tell on screen here, it looks really, really damn good. At the time of making this video, early access through their website has just dropped. And although it is very much still a work in progress, it seems like players are enjoying it so far. Next, over at number 16, keeping with the military vibe, we have Delta Force Hawk Ops. Yes, Delta Force is back, and it seems like it's going pretty crazy. It's going to be free to play, it's got cross-play, it's got all these big features for it, a bunch of game modes, so you can get competitive if you want, and it's also doing something interesting with a Black Hawk Down campaign mode. If you're looking for bigger scale PvP multiplayer, this might be your thing, especially if you're looking for a change of pace. Maybe you're tired of the Call of Duties and the Battlefields of the world. This could be a nice free alternative. As of right now, it's releasing fourth quarter 2024. Next, over at number 15, we have Off the Grid. This is a new battle royale game. It's apparently set in a dystopian cyberpunk future. It's 100 players fighting on a big, gorgeous tropical island, but apparently the game is also giving you a very lengthy narrative campaign that you're also going to progress through while you're jumping into these battle royale games. It's a very interesting idea to try and tell a story and a narrative over the course of battle royale. To quote a YouTube comment from the initial teaser trailer from this, it looks like if Cyberpunk 2077 and Fortnite had a baby. And yeah, I would agree with that. As of right now, no release date, but we're expecting to see more in 2024. Next, over at number 14, we have One Punch Man World. If you're into One Punch Man, you got this free thing to jump into. It's a official Crunchyroll published game, and it's got a lot of good reviews. You could play as some of your favorite characters, you could fight some of your favorite villains, and you could play with your friends. Personally, not really my type of thing because it does have a mobile game feel, but it is also releasing on PC, so that's why we figured we'd mention it here. Next, over at number 13, we have Project Mugen. When this game was first revealed, we were pretty blown away by the ambition. Graphically, art style, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and it very blatantly seems like it's going for a kind of Grand Theft Auto mixed with the web swinging of Spider-Man, mixed with the free-to-play elements and vibes of something like a Genshin Impact. This is a NetEase published game. They, of course, are famous for publishing other free-to-play style games from various territories. It feels like they got infinite money at this point to pull off something this cool looking. If the game actually comes out looking as cool as this trailer, we are definitely interested. It looks like there's some combat with some depths, some interesting range weapons, some destruction, and a big open world city. Project Mugen potentially could be cooking. As of right now, it's slated for PC and PlayStation, but no release date yet. Next, over at number 12, we have Doom Ray Traced. This is a completely free download thing that one clever developer or modder made. It is just Doom 2 with ray tracing, and man, does it look gorgeous. I mean, just look at this trailer here. It totally changes the look and feel of the game. I love old school Doom, but I still can't get over looking at it with these types of visuals applied. I think the cool thing is that the people who worked on this and implemented ray tracing and everything are just put it out for people to play. Of course, download it and check it out at your own risk, but at the very least, just look up some videos, some gameplay of it, because it is absolutely wild. Next, over at number 11, we have Ashfall. Now, at first glance, you might be looking at this gameplay and thinking, what the heck is this? But believe it or not, it's a camping and survival game based on Morrowind. Yes, this is technically a Morrowind mod. This has been a thing, a community thing for quite some time. You can access a lot of it on Nexus mods, and it's just cool. Honestly, we've recommended a lot of your standard free-to-play looter shooter extraction things on this list, but something like Ashfall is a totally different flavor for a totally different type of player. Building something on the bones of Morrowind, making something creative out of it, in my opinion, is always cool. So yeah, we had to give this a mention. Next, over at number 10, if you're looking for some free survival, check out Ocean World Eden Crafters. This released pretty recently, earlier this summer, and essentially this is a free-to-access and play prologue to a bigger game called Eden Crafters. In this experience, you're dropped onto an ocean world and you're tasked with surviving, but also terraforming and essentially doing the work, putting the work in to make the planet more habitable for humans. The terraforming tools look really, really interesting, how you can really shape this planet into your own image. Also, it is a water-based planet, meaning gravity is causing massive, massive waves constantly, and you need to figure out how to work around that stuff. I think for fans of survival games, but also space games and people who like Interstellar might dig this one. Next, over at number 9, we have The First Descendant. Released earlier this summer, this is very much a free-to-play, live service, looter shooter with all the trappings you'd come to expect. A battle pass, skins, all that. But it does seem like people are enjoying it. Maybe it's the grappling hook or the very distinct characters you can play as that all have very, very different abilities and use cases, or the larger scale kind of raid boss battles. The First Descendant does have a lot of interesting ideas going on. It seems like it's doing pretty well. There was a big marketing push behind it, and it seems like it's worked. People are jumping onto it, probably because it was free, but I'm excited to see what the developers cook up next for this. Next, over at number 8, we have Ubisoft's spin on the free-to-play shooter with XDefiant. Yes, XDefiant is still going strong, and this is a free-to-play arena shooter that is very intense, very quick, very hectic, very sweaty, really. So if you're looking for an alternative to some of those tight, challenging, quick, competitive first-person shooters with a little bit of a Ubisoft flavor to it, XDefiant might be your thing. Next, over at number 7, we have Warhammer 40k Speed Freaks. Now, Warhammer 40k has really been expanding with lots of new media and lots of new games, and some of them get really creative, and Speed Freaks is definitely one of those. Yes, they're going with the free-to-play model, they're trying to attract people, they're trying to get you to spend money, but this is a Warhammer 40k themed kart racer. That, I think, is a really brilliant idea. It's quirky, it's fun, but it still feels like it fits within the universe. I say that at least as somebody from the outside looking in. It's been out since August, people have been enjoying it, but technically it's still only in early access, so we're excited to see where else it can really go. Next, over at number 6, we have Sky, Children of Light. This is a massive but abstract and simple kind of MMO from the people who made Journey. So if you saw Journey on PlayStation 3 and was into that, this is essentially the free-to-play, big, expansive MMO version of that. A beautiful art style, very simple, fun, peaceful characters to play as, and just a lot of cool stuff going on. It's a lot of exploration and puzzles and vibes. For free games, you don't usually see ones that are quite like this, but that game company, the developer publisher, does always tend to do things a little bit differently. So if you're looking for something completely different from everything else on this list, consider Sky, Children of the Light. Next, over at number 5, if you're just looking for a dark and gritty PvPvE dungeon crawling thing, Dark and Darker definitely might be your thing. This is hardcore medieval fantasy dungeon diving. It's all first person with a lot of fun melee and magic combat. There are traps, monsters around every corner, and you can play it with your friends. So you're looting, you're questing, you're dungeon crawling, but with some buddies. What's better than that? This game is also seemingly becoming quite a big thing. It's coming to mobile as well, but it is on PC, where since the summer, people have been really enjoying it. It's got mostly positive on Steam. There's a lot of depth to this one, so I will say if you're curious, check out some YouTube videos first, other than this one, of course. But yeah, Dark and Darker is already offering quite a bit for a free-to-play early access game. Next, over at number 4, we have Once Human. This is another recent free-to-play shooter that is a big, massive open world, kind of post-apocalyptic, but with very, very strange monsters, and you're thrust into playing through a kind of survival game mixed with third-person combat like The Division, and it has moments where it's really, really cool. There are some really, really creative aspects to this game, mixed in with some of the more mundane survival stuff you see in a lot of other games. When I first checked this one out, I wasn't the biggest fan. I like the ideas more than the execution, but I'll be totally honest, it seems like I was wrong. People seem to really be enjoying Once Human way more than me. Sometimes I don't get it right. So, Once Human released in July, and it does seem like it's still going strong, so if you were curious, now's probably a good time to jump in. Now, down at number 3, we're getting to the real fun stuff with Nightmare Cart. Nightmare Cart is that game you may have heard about in the past. It was a Bloodborne cart game, but for legal reasons, it needs to be more distinct. But it is very much inspired by Bloodborne, and it's a kart racer. That's absolutely brilliant. This is a game made by a fan for fans. It's just the most genuine, wholesome version of a game you can possibly get. And the fact that it's free for everyone is even cooler. It's absolutely gorgeous from a kind of classic art style and how it embraces the horror tropes and the Bloodborne stuff. It really is something else. And now, down at number 2, we have Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals has had a lot of playable events recently, but its full launch is coming soon, and it's pretty cool. It seems like a good kind of third-person alternative to something like Overwatch. It's fairly simple, yes, and some of the interpretations of the Marvel characters are a little corny, but there's some cool stuff here, and it's good, simple, clean fun. The characters' abilities are interesting, the environmental destruction is good, the maps are fairly decent, so if you know Overwatch, if you understand Overwatch, but you are looking for a Marvel version of that, this is kind of that. I know I'm being reductive, people say it's not the same, but they are absolutely going for that market. Overwatch 2 has kind of left a void, and I think Marvel Rivals is doing a good job. It's pretty cool. Still, it seems like they're only just getting started. They just announced like Captain America for it, so we're curious to see where else it goes. But for now, we're thinking Marvel Rivals might become a bigger thing. Finally, now at number 1, we have Fallout London. Fallout London is a fan mod for Fallout 4. It is a whole new Fallout experience. It's a Fallout game set in London by these incredible fans and modders. They did such a good job adapting the Fallout style, the lore, the vibe, everything to post-apocalyptic London. It's absolutely brilliant. It's got story you can play through, it's got quests, it's got its own unique loot, locations. They really did a bang-up job on this. It took tons and tons of years and lots of hard work for this to be made, but it is absolutely worth the wait. Fallout London is truly something special, and I hope to see it end up in the video game history books. If you were waiting for the next Fallout game, this is it. It's right here. Bethesda didn't make it, but it is right in front of us, and it's a good time.